Hi everyone, Ghost Peppa here. So today we're going to take a look at not a Red Eyes deck, but actually a deck that merges Fluffals with Chimeras. As soon as I saw the new support, I knew I had to update this deck list for you guys. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe because that lets me know what you guys are looking for as a channel. Let's take a look. So for this deck list, we have 1 Fluffal Wings, 2 Max C, 1 Fluffal Sheep, 1 Edgemp Sabers, 2 Fluffal Bear, 2 Ash Blossom, 1 Fluffal Dog, 3 Edgemp Chain, 2 Fluffal Penguin, 1 Fluffal Dolphin, 2 Gazelle, 2 Cornfield Quaddle, 2 Mirror Sword Knight, 1 Big Wing Baphomet, 3 Nightmare Apprentice, 1 Nightmare Magician, 2 Polymerization, 1 Frightfur Fusion, 1 Foolish Burial Goods, 3 Frightfur Patchwork, 1 Frightfur Repair, 3 Toy Vendor, 2 Super Polymerization, 2 Called by the Grave, and 2 Chimera Fusion. And then for the extra deck, we have 1 Muddragon of the Swamp, 1 Frightfur Wolf, 1 Frightfur Tiger, 1 Garura, 1 Chimera the King of Phantom Beast, 1 Baphomet the Mythical King of Phantom Beast, 1 Frightfur Kraken, 1 Dragostapelia, 1 Chimera the Illusion Beast, 1 Magnum the Reliever, 1 Frightfur Cruel Well, 1 Guardian Chimera, 1 Typhon, 1 Cross Sheep, and 1 SP Little Knight. And for those of you guys that are playing in the TCG like I also do, the easy changes here are just to remove the 2 Maxi, which are staples in Master Duel, and add 2 Foolish Burial Goods, which are easily accessible in TCG as it is limited to 3 copies. Also, another change that you will need to make for TCG is you have 2 Called by the Grave accessible in Master Duel, but in TCG you can only have 1. So you remove one of those and you add 1 more Fluffal Bear. But this deck is definitely an OTK deck. It loves to go second. You can go first and get some interruption, but it really thrives at finishing the duel on that second turn. You have tons of ways to search out cards, to extend your plays. Edgemp Chain is the easiest way to get into some of these Frightfur cards because it searches for them when it is sent. So sent includes being fused away. It includes being discarded by Toy Vendor. It includes being sent by Nightmare Apprentice. All of these fun effects will trigger Edgemp Chain to give you access to either another Edgemp Chain or an Edgemp Sabers and a Polymerization. So that's the key combo there. The new card that was added to the Chimera line is Nightmare Apprentice. So Nightmare Apprentice is an extendable body on field to get you into some link plays, but it also searches for an illusion beast from deck, which 9 times out of 10 you're going to be searching for our friend Cornfield Quaddle, which then searches for Mirror Sword Knight. So there's a lot of deck thinning that goes on here. But now that we have an extra body that can special summon, it means that we can get into Cross Sheep a lot easier for an OTK or for, say, follow-up from a completely disruptive board. We also have other recycles and Fluffal Sheep returning, where it can bounce a Fluffal from the field to the hand to get an Edgemp from Graves. You get another search. Fluffal Bear, of course, is a searcher direct for Toy Vendor, and it gives a Fluffal body engraved to banish all Fluffal Wings, so you can draw 2 and then search a card, which is phenomenal. This is also not once per turn, and so many people will try to negate Toy Vendor thinking it's once per turn, but it is not. So it can go off multiple times. You can activate another copy. It's just really hilarious to watch them rage when this card keeps going off and getting so many searches. Just like in the first time through, Chimera Fusion can set up my fusions if I'm going first to go into Chimera the King of Phantom Beast to force the discard, get my negates live, and also I can then add it from grave back to hand to set up for a follow-up Guardian Chimera during their turn to draw some cards and pop 1 or 2, which is all wonderful things that you can do for disruption. This deck is not going to put up any negates other than the 2 monster negates from grave, so we do have a target negate on Cornfield Quaddle, but these specific negates, the target negate and the monster negate, require having one of the Chimera Fusions on field, so just remember that as you go through it. We are also running before the King of Phantom Beast this time, because it can send a fiend to the grave when it is summoned, and if our lovely friend over here wasn't drawn, Edgem Chain, notice it is a fiend, we can put it in grave to be able to banish it to summon. I can use it to send Edgem Sabers. Now, it will not trigger the Edgem Chain effect because it is only activated when it is sent from hand or field to grave. But I can use this to get a body pretty easily. Or if, say, they called by one of my cornfields before, I can easily get access to some more, because you see I can send not only just a fiend but an illusion, I can send a beast, tons of extension in that direction. We also have tech cards like Magnum the Reliever, which it can target a poly or fusion spell in grave, put it on the bottom of the deck, draw a card, so it's a draw engine. Also, when a card or effect is activated, this includes yours, you can quick effect banish a poly spell or a fusion spell from grave, target one card on the field, destroy it. Now, see, it specifically says spell. It doesn't say quick play, it doesn't specify. So we have 7 targets in this deck. 2 polys, 2 super polys, 2 Chimera Fusions, and the 1 Frightfur Fusion. So it's pretty common that you're going to be able to get this off, and also this is something that you'll fuse into for utility after you've super polyed them away with one of the super poly targets like Mudragon, Garura, or Dragostapelia. So these are things to keep in mind. Also, if you get hard stops, say someone negates you, has one too many imperms for your taste, you can always end on that Superstar Slayer Typhon, because it will blanket negate anything that's 3k or above, and you can bounce a card back to hand. But some of this is going to be best seen in action, so let's jump in. Okay, so for this duel we're going first. We have ways to get into most of our lines, so here I'm going to go ahead and start with Fluffal Bear to get Toy Vendor on the field. Okay. Doesn't look like they have Ash in this case. I'm going to activate Toy Vendor. I'm going to use Nightmare Apprentice's effect, and I will send a card from hand to grave to special summon it. So I'm going to go ahead... this is tricky. Actually, I'm going to use Patchwork first. We're going to pull a Poly, and we're going to pull Chain to hand. Since I'm going first, see, Fluffal line is better going second. But I can discard it as cost off of Nightmare Apprentice, Edgem, in fact, to get some of my Frightfur cards out of the deck. So I'm going to use it to send Chain to grave. Going to special summon and to defense. Trigger its effect, chain block it with Amp. Alright, we will add Frightfur Fusion from deck to hand, I believe. See, now you can... I can do this, and then it would let me get into one of my Frightfurs. But actually... it's probably going to be better for the follow-up, so I'm going to get Patchwork. We're going to add Corn to hand. I'm going to use Corn's effect. It will search out a card that mentions Chimera Fusion, which is Mirror Sword Knight usually. We'll bring it to hand here. I'm going to go ahead and... we will summon Mirror Sword Knight. We're going to use its effect. It tributes for cost to special summon before Met in defense. Before Met's effect will activate. It will let me add 2 cards to hand. So 1 Chimera Fusion and 1 Gazelle. So at this point I have plenty of options here. Now when you do that, the second I summon before Met, it locks me into fusions, okay, for the rest of the turn, which is fine, but if you wanted to try to get into some of your links for some recursion, that would need to be done ahead of time. So here from this point, I have 2 Chimera Fusion, I have a poly. I don't really need the poly right now. I'm going to use Toy Vendor to YOLO that poly into grave and see what we can pull. All right, we pulled a corn, it goes to grave. It's fine to have that there because that just gives me some more negate. All right, we're going to use Chimera Fusion. And I'm going to fusion summon into Chimera, the King of Mythical Bee, or King of Phantom Beasts, using Before Met and using Claws. We will summon it into defense. It's always a good idea to play around the Lightning Storm from Tenpai. And then I'm going to use Chimera's effect last because it's the hardest one to block, so we're going to go Before Met. We will special summon a Mirror Sword Knight. We'll use Gazelle. And then I will use Chimera. So we'll go ahead and add Nightmare Magician to my hand. I will summon Mirror Sword Knight in defense. And once per turn, Chimera Fusion can be added from grave to hand if you control Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts, which these cards take those names. Or Chimera, the Flying Mythical Beast, excuse me. So I will trigger its effect, add it back to hand. Alright, and at this point, I'm going to go ahead and set a card right here. And just in case they have some interruption, I'm going to go ahead and set the other. Alright, and I will go ahead and pass. During the end phase, they have to discard. I see they discarded an Aluber, which is a pretty good indicator that they're playing Branded or something similar. So, Mirror Sword Knight, you can use each of the effects once per turn. So by me summoning it back here, that is not a problem. So I'm going to use its effect. I'm going to summon out another Gazelle. Just to get it engraved, give me some more bodies. Chimera Fusion is live, but I don't need it quite yet. So they have a Branded Lost. They have a Nadir Servant. And they went ahead and sent Albion for some follow-up. Okay. At this point here, they can send a Fallen of Albazar card that mentions it from deck to grave. I don't really want them to have these cards on field specifically, so I'm going to use Chimera Fusion to remove it. And so with Chimera Fusion, I can fusion summon a fusion monster using monsters in my hand or field, including a beast or fiend. So I have one beast here. I'm going to use that. And I'm going to special summon Guardian Chimera using Gazelle, Nightmare Apprentice, and Nightmare Magician. Summon in defense. Alright, we will use Guardian Chimera, and I will use Gazelle. Now, I could have done Guardian Chimera afterwards because I do have a Poly Engrave that gives it protection, but that's fine. We're going to do it this way. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and add to hand a Nightmare Apprentice for some follow-up. And I will pop both their cards that let them plus. Let them continue. Alright, they're setting a fusion. So now that fusion that they set specifically is branded in red. It lets you target a Despian or Fallen of Albaz engrave and use it to fusion summon. They do have an Albaz engrave, and they have Guiding Quim, which is treated as a Despian card. So they have 2 targets, so I do have to be careful about this. Alright, at this point I'm going to attempt to use Frightfur Patchwork here. I'm going to add Agent Sabers to hand. Alright, engrave. I'm going to go ahead and add back Chimera Fusion while I can, just to be safe. Alright, now I have Fluffal Dog, I have Frightfur Bear, or Fluffal Bear. I have a lot of options here. Now, Fluffal Dog can add Sabers, so I could go for Sabers there, but I need to force them to use that interaction. So what we're going to do is try our best to play around some of their cards. So I'm going to use Nightmare Apprentice's effect. I'm going to send Bear to grave. Actually, let's send Patchwork to grave because we've already used it. Patchwork to grave. Special summon. Activate effect. Alright, brings our Sword Knight to hand. Alright, now at this point, I'm going to go ahead and use Crawl Sheep to link this and this. Okay. Now, I'm going to use Poly to get out my sabers and all of that, but first I'm going to use Fluffal Dog. We're going to dig deep. So Dog is going to search out our copy of Penguin if I want to draw 2, discard 1, or I can go for Wings to get a draw 2, search 1. Realistically, it's not a bad idea to get a draw 2 search, so we're going to go ahead and pull Wings to hand. Alright, and so I'm going to attempt to pop their card first. And so we don't need all of the Fluffals for this, I only need a few. So I'm going to go ahead and send Fluffal Bear to grave so I can dig. I'm going to take another Toy Vendor, set a Toy Vendor. Alright, and we're going to use Toy Vendor's effect. I'm going to go ahead and discard Fluffal Wings to grave. Draw, it's all fine. Fluffal. We're going to banish 1 bear. And we're going to destroy Toy Vendor. So now we get the draw, and we get the search. So see, I'm going to reverse do it so I get everything. Okay. Now, with Fluffal Sheep, I can also get an Edge Imp. I can special summon an Edge Imp monster from my hand or from my graveyard. So we are going to attempt to do so. Activate its effect. Special summon Chain. Crawl Sheep has an effect, so if I want to, I can special summon from the grave another one of those cards, which I will do so here. And I want to get some more illusions out, but I have 1 mirror and I have 1 corn in the grave, so I'm going to get another mirror. This is for follow-up. Okay. From this point, I'm going to go ahead and use Polymerization. And we're going to go into our first fusion, and it's going to be Cruel Well. And so Cruel Well, we're going to use Chain, and we're going to use Sheep. When Well enters, it lets me pop 1 card on my field and 1 card on their field. And then Chain, when it goes to grave, will let me search a card. So we'll let that go through. First, we're going to search out Frightfur Fusion. Second, I will pop Vendor, and I will pop Branded in Red. Since they didn't respond initially to that activation, they were not able to do it. So Toy Vendor went to grave. I will get another search off here. We'll go ahead and add Dolphin to hand. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use Foolish Burial Goods. Send that last Toy Vendor to grave. Trigger its effect. We're going to add our second copy of Fluffal Bear to hand. Okay, now I'm going to use from hand my Chimera Fusion. And we're going to make Frightfur Wolf using Edge Imp Sabers, Fluffal Bear, Dolphin, Dog, and Penguin. So Frightfur Wolf can attack once for each fusion material. So right now it can attack 5 times. All right, we're gonna go ahead and use Fluffal Dolphin and Fluffal Penguin's effect. Dolphin will let me return a card from grave to deck. We're gonna send that Poly back. Draw 2 cards, discard 1 card. In this situation, we're pretty cleaned up here, and I want to get that fusion out just in case I need to deal with something they have. So I'm going to go ahead and send Super Poly to grave. Alright. Edge Imp Sabers is in grave now, as you can see. I'm going to go ahead and use my Chimera Fusion, and we're going to go for Chimera the Illusion Beast, and we're going to use all of our friends in hand on field. Alright, and then from this point we can also go ahead and go into our Frightfur Fusion just to show you the extra power we had. If I needed to pop stuff on the board, I could do so with Tiger. I could use it to fuse multiple copies and get, right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that may be it. I can get 6. I can get 6, 7. I could pop 7 cards on their field, so I could completely blow them out with Tiger if I needed to. But we don't need to do so right now, so I'm just going to use Kraken. I'm going to banish that chain, and I'm going to banish, we'll say, Bear. Here we have plenty of power on field. We'll go ahead and use Cruel Will's ability to boost Wolf. Sending Repair from deck to grave. Enter battle. Wolf. Wolf. And Wolf. And of course, I still had many more attacks after that, so it's pretty guaranteed you can OTK with this deck. Okay, so for this duel, we're going second, it looks like, into Witchcrafters. So they have a lot of floating effects from grave, and they have quick effect, discard a spell, target cards, etc. They can shuffle more Witchcrafters onto the field depending on the effects. Also, they have some protection through Witchcrafter by Street, and a lot of the spells they send to grave can come back. So I have to be careful to play around this. First off, the easiest choice here, I need to get into my Chimera engine, so I can do it one of a few ways. So first, Chain can search me some cards that I want. Also, Vendor is a good pop target, because if they pop it, I'll plus, so I have 2 ways to get off Chain. I can send Chain with Toy Vendor, or I can send Chain with Apprentice. So we're going to start with Toy Vendor, try to bait them out. A lot of people will target Toy Vendor and pop it like that immediately. I mean, it's decent, but it's a YOLO. So I discard a card, draw it, and if it's Fluffal, I can special summon any monster from my hand no matter what. But a lot of people just don't like to see it, but that's fine with me. I'll go ahead and search. And good thing for us is it's actually not once per turn. So just because we did it right there doesn't mean we can't do it again. Now, of course, they had a called by, but it's better to run into that called by early like this than have to wait till later. So now we're going to go ahead and go Nightmare Apprentice effect. We're going to send that Chain to grave. Better to have Bear hit than Chain. All right, so we're going to go Apprentice search, and we're going to go Edgem Chain search. So Chain is going to search Patchwork to hand. Apprentice is going to go ahead and search Quaddle to hand. Quaddle's effect is going to activate. We're going to search Sword Knight to hand. And Frightfur Patchwork is going to activate, and we're going to add to hand a Polymerization. And looking on what we have in hand right here, we're going to need to add that Saber. So we're going to go ahead and add Sabers. Right here. We're going to go ahead and use Mirror Sword Knight's effect to start getting into the Chimera line. So we will go ahead and summon out Big Wing before Met. Activate effect. Add Chimera Fusion, add Gazelle. Right here. We're going to go ahead and just use our Poly. And I can go into lots of different options, but the ideal thing is we can get the Frightfur OTK online here. The best way to do that is to get some sort of buff engine live. But we're not going to have a way to easily buff it in Frightfur itself. So we're going to have to get an OTK engine that hybridizes the 2 decks, which is honestly one of my more favorite options. So we're going to go ahead and get Chimera just in case that turn passes. And I'm going to use Before Met, and I'm going to use Gazelle. 3 effects will be on the chain here, so it doesn't matter which one of these you start, but it's best to end with Chimera because it's harder to stop that effect. So we're going to go Before Met, special summon a Sword Knight, then we're going to go Gazelle, and then we're going to go Chimera. So Chimera's effect discards a card from hand, as you guys know. Chimera is going to add to hand an illusion card. So we're going to go ahead and just grab another Quaddle to hand. And then Sword Knight will enter. Okay. Now, here at this point, we will get recursion off of Chimera Fusion with our Chimera on field, our Chimera Fusion on field. So we're going to activate this, and we're going to go into Frightfur Cruel Will. And I'm going to use Penguin here, and I'm going to use Edgem Sabers. Now I can use Frightfur's pop effect, pop one of mine, pop one of theirs, but we don't want to do that for this specific OTK, so we're not going to use it. We're just going to use Penguin's effect. Okay, and here we can discard a card, so I'm going to go ahead and discard Dolphin. Don't need it. And then I'm going to add back to, from grave to hand, Chimera Fusion. And I'm going to use that Chimera Fusion I added back to make Chimera the Illusion Beast. So we'll use our Fusion, we'll use Nightmare Apprentice on field, we'll use Mirror Sword Knight on field, we'll use Quaddle, Nightmare Magician, and Nightmare Apprentice. So that is a 6 fusion target. So just like with the Fluffal line, Chimera here, it can attack a number of times each battle phase up to the number of materials. So it can attack 6 times right now. Now, a unique thing about this one is it has a special ability. If it battles a monster, neither can be destroyed by battle. At the end of the damage step, if it battled an opponent's monster, you can change its attack to 0, also negate its effects. There are a lot of great uses for this, but one key thing is if someone, say, summons an Avramax, which is really hard notoriously to beat over, Chimera the Illusion Beast, yes, it's going to take a lot of damage on that first hit when it buffs up Avramax, but then it will set it to 0, and if you have multiple fusions like I do here, then you're going to just keep smacking it and decimate their life point total. Its attack is already a respectable 3100 attack, and you can buff it up by using the Frightfur engine off of Cruel, as so. To boost it, I just send a Repair, because Repair can give me a special summon to boost it up. We still have Sabers engraved, but we don't need it right now. We'll enter battle. Chimera will attack, trigger its effect, take it to 0, attack again, and then attack again. I've always found the Fluffal archetype really fun ever since I first saw it in Arc V, but what you guys will find interesting is illusion creatures can't be destroyed by battle, which means if you have a few set to defense, Tenpai is going to never be able to remove them, and it makes it an extreme annoyance. And if they pass your turn, you're going to clap them hard. I definitely encourage you guys to give it a try, and let me know what you guys think in the comments.